How's it going, Scrub Gamers? We're back with another video here at Scrub Games, and once again we are here with the next and last of the installment of my Understand How to Build series for set 3, where we go over all the leaders in a given set to help you understand how to build them to suit you and your playstyle. Now for this one we're going over, like I said, the last one of this set 3 series, and we're going over the General Grievous leader, so if you're interested, stay tuned, and also don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to keep updated with the channel. Also, remember that you can click the notification bell to get alerts to when my videos do drop, so you can watch them there and then, or later time that suits you best. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump in and help you understand how to build General Grievous. So, first things first, we're going to start with the leader, as Stars Unlimited is a leader-based game, and you can't really play without one, and they're usually what you're going to build your deck around. Now, it's always best to understand what the leader does and how it functions before you start building your deck around it, as some of them are very generic in what they do, some of them focus on a specific trait. And for General Grievous, who is the general of the droid armies, he is a Villainy and Cunning leader. So he's got those aspects of yellow and black. And he also brings the traits of Separatist and Official. Now, there aren't many benefits to Official, there are some, but there's some nice new benefits to Separatists in this current set because it's focused on the Clone Wars, being a Separatist against the Republic. Now, he does deploy not too late, but not too early either, at 6 resources. So he can come down as early as turn 5, which is pretty cool. And when he does come down, he comes with pretty decent stats at 4 power and 8 health, which is pretty good. 8 health is very nice, very good amount of health, out of range of a lot of things that just take it out straight away. And 4 health means it does a good amount of damage when it swings, or when it's attacked into. And with this effect, like we said, you get some effects where are quite generic, some focus on a specific kind of thing, like trait or aspect or something like that. But General Grievous is one of those focused on more on a specific trait. In this case, it's droids, because he's the leader of the droid army. So when he's in the leader area, his effect is an action effect. So by tapping him, but as the cost, you can give a droid unit sentinel for this phase. You can make your droid unit sentinel, so that way if your opponent wants to get through that arena to your base with their units, they have to go through that sentinel before they can get to your base or your other units. So pretty nice there. And then when he deploys, he does have the similar effect, but now it's on a different kind of trigger. And also do note that with effects on leaders, they normally either change completely or change a bit when they deploy, or they become something new or basically the same just with a different trigger. And for Grievous now when he attacks, he triggers this effect, and it's basically a boost of what he originally did, because now you can give a droid unit +1 power and sentinel for the phase. So you still give this droid a sentinel, but now you give an extra 1 power to make it a little bit tougher. Not tougher, but a little bit stronger to hit back a little bit harder. So that's pretty nice. It's a pretty nice leader. Like, there are quite a few droids now in the with set 3. Usually the droids were on the good side normally when we played in the previous sets, but now they're more on the dark. There's a lot more on the dark side because, of course, the Separatists use droid armies. And it's a pretty nice one because it doesn't deploy too late, and it's got some pretty good stats for when it does deploy. Also note that there is a showcase for the leader as well, because every leader since set 2 has got a showcase, even the starter deck ones, and this is General Grievous' one. So remember, with showcases, they are literally just alternative arts, and art is also always subjective. So if you like it, fair enough. If you don't like it, also fair enough. Because you've got to remember, with art, it's just the only opinion that really matters when it comes to alternative arts is yours, because you'll be the one playing it, so you don't really have to worry about anyone else's opinion, just yours, because you'll be the one using it. So, now that we've covered the leader, we're now going to go over some basics of the game. So, for any brand new players watching that want to try building Grievous or play him, I have as much information as possible to help them build it to suit them. But if you're a veteran player or someone who doesn't really need this kind of basic information, like about bases, aspects, and ratios, then feel free to skip to the certain parts of the video you want, because down in the description below, there are timestamps to help you skip to certain parts, and they're all noted for ease of reference for you guys. So that is it for the for the leader. Now we're going to go on some basic information and starting off with the bases. So, next part with the bases, we're going to go over them, as they are the ever mandatory piece you need alongside your leader, because they give you the third aspect to play with, and also they are how you win and lose the game, because the only way you can win the game in Star Wars is by dealing enough damage to a base up to its health. So with a 30 health base, if you deal 30 damage to your opponent's base, then you win the game. Easy and simple as that. There's no other way to win the game. Even by deck out, you can they basically just keep playing, and then you start taking damage instead of if you can't draw cards. Now in set 3, or as of set 3, there are currently 2 types of bases in the game. There are the rare bases, which you can see an example of on the left here, which have less health than the normal common bases, but They compensate for that by having an effect. It could be an epic action, which you could take once a game, like a deploy. It could be an effect that triggers at a certain point in the game, like when deploying a leader. Or it could be an effect that's just continuous. It's always an effect all the time. And then we have the common bases, which are just fairy health bases, no effects, and they differ by a few different factors. Now we're going to go over the different types of bases in a bit more depth, so you can kind of see what we're working with and what you've got access to kind of use essentially. So start off with the rare bases. As of set 3, there are currently 8 bases in the game because we had 4 of them in set 1, being the top row there, which are all 25 health bases that have an epic action. So action you have to take an action to use those effects, and none of them really affect the leaders. And in set 2, we didn't get any bases, which made it really nice when you open in packs. It didn't take up your rare slot. But then in set 3, we got more, 4 more rare bases, being the bottom row there. Now the difference between the bases, other than the effects, the aspects, stuff like that, is the top row from set 1, they're more competitive focused, so they're more focused on the normal standard format, whereas the set 3 ones are more focused for Twin Suns, because in that game, in that format, you can get 2 leaders in that format. And all the all the set 3 bases, they all affect your leader in some way, or shape, or form. So having 2 leaders gets more benefit, whereas the standard format you have 1 leader, so you get less of a benefit there. They also have varying different healths as well, which is quite cool. And we'll just quickly go over to kind of give an example. So the first ones, like we said, epic actions, all 25 health bases, all across the board, and they don't affect your leader. And you got some differences in like how they're played, because the green one, Energy Version Lab, or ECL for short, this was the most common and most used base for the first and second set. And it's just great because ambush is such a key skill, and giving that to a unit that doesn't normally have it is really cool. And you got things like Jeddah City, which is probably one of the worst out of the bases because its effect isn't that great at the moment. It could get better in future, but it's at the moment not the best, and it's barely seen play. Whereas now, like with set 3, Tarkness Town seems a lot more use because of the things that can have access to it and make use of it, which are really cool. So it's nice that they kind of come in and out of play pretty well, and like new things make some of them a little bit better. And then with the ones from set 3, you got difference in health. So you got some higher health ones, lower health ones. You got the ones that have continuous effects, being the blue one, Pal City, and the green, and the yellow one, Petronaki Arena. They both have continuous effects where you control each leader unit you control gains a boost to the stats. Where the blue one gives an extra 1 health to the leader, where the yellow one gives an extra 1 power to the leader. So like I said, you get more benefits out of Twin Suns. We have 2 leaders, and also they have the highest health for a rare base, being 26. Then you have the other 2 being the green and red ones. They have an effect which when you deploy a leader, they get the effect. And you got the green one with the lowest health, but when you deploy a leader, it gives you 2 battle tokens. And this benefits the new skills from set 3, be it Exploit on the dark side and Coordinate on the good side. Now, Exploit is one that allows you to defeat your own units to make something you're going to play a little bit cheaper by 2 for everything you exploit. So by having 2 new droid tokens, those easy ones, 1/1 units you can just sack off or defeat to be able to make something at least up to 4 costs cheaper, which is pretty nice. And for the heroic side, Coordinate is a skill where if you control 3 or more units on board, you can trigger the skill that your coordinate's attached to. So by having 2 units deploying your leader, you deploy your leader, have 2 droid tokens, now Exploit is live because you have 3 units on board, being the 2 droid tokens and your leader. And then we have the red one, which has the same health as the original rare bases at 25. And its effect is when you deploy it, you draw a card. Now, drawing isn't the be-all, end-all on the most amazing thing in this game, but it is pretty nice, but it is not something as big as some of the other games like Pokemon, where you can just draw 7 from a single card. It's not something so huge, and you do draw 2 cards a turn at the end of every turn. And with the ever bases, like we said, there's 2 types of bases, and we have the common bases. Now, these don't really differ much. They all have 30 health, they have no effect, and they only differ in 4 aspects, being the name of the base, the location of the base, the aspect, and the art. Now, as of set 3, there's nothing that benefits from a certain named base or a certain location base, so there's no worry about that. So essentially, when you're using one of these common bases, you essentially just use one of your favorite art in the aspect you want to use, and that's it. Now, these are my preferred arts for some of the bases, and I like to have 2 in each one for the dark side leaders and 1 for the light side leaders, so I like to have a little bit difference there. And remember, if you don't feel like any of the rare bases have an effect that's worth having that lower health, you can just go ahead and use a vanilla base to have the maximum health and just play the game. So that's it with the bases. Now we're going to go into aspects and explain that as well. So in this game, there are 6 aspects, and you have them all shown on screen. They have the different ones in the 4 color ones and the 2 that should represent the light and dark sides of the game. So we have the blue one being Vigilance. Now this one features more about defense and control. And then you've got Command, which is more about resource management and playing lots of units. You've got Aggression, which is also mostly about damage. And then you've got Cunning, that is all about tricks and disrupting your opponent. So they kind of do have those kind of ways to play, which we'll get in a bit more in depth with them in this bit. And then we got the last two, being Heroes and Villainy, which are more showing the light and dark side. Which you got the Villainy one, showing the antagonist of the Star Wars universe, and also focuses more on control and destruction. And you also got the heroism side, which is more about peace and justice. Show the protagonists of the Star Wars universe as well, because they're more rebellious. And also, a nice thing about heroism and villainy is that they're special in the fact that they are aspects that are most commonly paired with other aspects on cards that won't be before, and also you can get some cards that are just solely heroism and villainy as well. Now, we will go in a bit more depth what these aspects do, because like we described with them, they kind of have their own kind of way to play. And as you heard with the heroism and villainy, they can normally pair with the others, but the other ones have a specific type of play that you might use it because they are also come on your bases as well. So if you were to go for a Vigilance base with Grievous, then you get the ability to play defensively with the ability to heal, remove dangerous units from play and protect your base, and this is a perfect fit if you like patient playstyles to enjoy almost anything. So that could be a nice addition to Grievous if you go for a blue base. Now if you go for a green base, like we said, it's all about ramping stuff, resource management. So Command allows you to accelerate your resources and call upon lots of units or strengthen the ones you already have in play. And this is a perfect choice for any player who likes to overwhelm their opponent with a massive war presence. And the dark side of green is very nice in the game. Like, it's a bit more more rampy than the light side of the heroic side of green. So it could be a good one you could pair with Grievous with a green base. Then we got aggression, and you might think that with aggression, the name it means it's aggressive, but it's more aggressive in damage than it is in being like aggro and just swinging. Because it's got what it allows you to do is attack with maximum efficiency and deal lots of damage. And it's a great fit for people who like fast-paced, fiery play styles that like to basically throw damage out their opponent until they achieve victory. So you can it's focused on like just throwing out damage by effects and by attacks as well. So if you go for a red base attached to Grievous, then you get access to that. And next we have Cunning, which is nice because it's also the aspect that Grievous is already in, and it's more of a jack of all trades one. So like we said, it's got lots of tricks and things like that. Because what it allows you to do is adapt to any situation on the fly with powerful and immediate effects, and have lots of tools for disrupting your opponent's game plan. Now, this is a perfect one for if you want to respond to answers quickly and have an answer for almost anything your opponent throw away. And if that sounds like the perfect style for you, then you're in luck because Grievous is already in there. And you can even go for a double aspect by putting in Cunning base with Grievous to have access to those double aspect cards, which we'll go over in a bit. Now, also remember that with your leader and base together, you get 3 aspects, because you get 2 from Grievous, which would be your yellow and black one. And with a never base, you get a never aspect, you get 3. That'll bring you to 4 different aspect combinations you can have with Grievous, and these are the ones here. So with a blue base attached to Grievous, you'll have access to black, yellow, and blue. With a green base, black, yellow, and green. With a red base, black, yellow, and red. And with a yellow base, you have access to black and double yellow. Now, we'll go over what the benefits are to these different aspect combos and what the benefits they get from having that combination. Before we do, we've got a last bit to go over for the aspects, and that's the asset penalty. Now, in this game, you can put any card in your deck whatsoever, anything you want in your deck. When it comes to actually playing the card, that's when the asset penalty comes into effect. Because what the asset penalty is if an aspect on a card does not match what's on your leader or base, you have to pay an additional 2 resources in addition to the card's cost to play it out. So we've got this handy dandy guy because I like to improve on the series and kind of give a more, like I would before. I was just basically doing a description, like a verbal description you have to listen to kind of understand how it works. But I thought it needs to be improved on, like people will learn different ways from either like trying it out themselves, watching, or listening. And I decided to put on like a little visual representation with this little chart here. So we've got an example here with a base and leader example as well. So if we had Grievous with a blue base, we'd have access to the black, yellow, and blue aspects. Now, the nice thing about this is that those are the aspects you get to play. So if you wanted to play a card that had those aspects shared on the card, so you've had any aspects in the first top box there, were on the card you want to play, you don't play any additional costs, you just play it for its printed cost. So a 2 cost card would cost 2. Now, if you had a card where one of the aspects did not match what's on your leader base when you want to play it, with this example, with this leader base combo example, then you have to pay an additional 2 in addition to the cost of the card. Meaning that if it was a 2-cost card, you have to pay an extra 2 on top, meaning it now costs 4. And like I said, the middle box there is the example of this. So any of those aspects with this leader base combo would require you to pay additional 2 resources. And also need to mention as well is that every aspect provides one of their aspects. So with Grievous, you get 1 black aspect, 1 yellow, and 1 blue. And so if you want to play either a double blue or double yellow card, because you've got the one of them covered by yellow from Grievous and blue from your base, then you cover one of those, but the second yellow or blue aspect wouldn't be covered, because remember they only cover 1, so you have to pay an additional 2 resources to cover that second of the aspects that you have a second copy of. So do bear in that mind. Now, with the last example, that's for where you got two you got 2 aspects on a card, and neither of them matches on your unit base. You have to pay an additional 4 costs on top of the card. So in every example, if you would this leader base combo, you would play a card that is white and green. Now, if it's a 2-cost card, normally it would cost 2, but where both aspects don't match, it now costs an extra 4 on top. Meaning now a 2-cost card that you normally play would now cost 6 because it's out of aspect by 2. So do bear that in mind that the aspect penalty does make a card more costly, but also do bear in mind that while the aspect penalty does make a card more costly, sometimes it is worth paying the additional cost of a card due to the effect on it. And a great example of this would be the double aspect events from set 1. They are 4-cost events that offer you 4 effects that you can choose any 2 and resolve them however you want. And they're sometimes worth playing an extra 2 resources because you don't always want to play a double aspect combo just to play them. So sometimes you play a dual aspect combo, so that way, and then pay the additional 2 on top, making them a 6-cost instead of 4, because the effects on those cards are worth playing at extra resources. So do bear in mind that while the aspect penalty does make a card more costly, sometimes it's worth it for the effects of the card. Now, the last bit of information we're going to go over is the ratios, because like in every card game, you can play a certain amount of copies of any given card. And as you guessed it from looking at the screen, you can play up to 3 copies of any given card in the Star Wars Unlimited card game. Now, there are benefits to having 1, 2, or 3 copies of a card, and we're going to quickly go over that so you can understand when you would want however many copies of a card in your deck. So the example of 3 copies of a card we've got here is droid deployment. Now, this is the ratio this is the ratio to maximize the likelihood the desired card will be in your hand when needed. And examples of this being cards you want to play on the first turn, like droid deployment here, and also cards you want to see multiple copies over the course of the game. So if there's any card you want to see and you want to try and open with in the beginning of the game on your first turn to play, because you don't want to have a turn where you're not doing anything, you want to be able to play something every turn, and you might be something you want to see multiple copies over the game to get use of it because the effects are so great. And droid deployment is a good example here because it's a simple 2-cost event here, so something you can play as early as turn 1, and it creates 2 battle droid tokens. And battle droids are separatists, droid, and troopers. So they're 1/1 units, and you can get 2 of them out on the first turn. And because they're droids, you can use Grievous to give them Sentinel as well to kind of draw the attacks into them rather than your base. So this could be a very useful card to have turn 1, and to maximize opening it with Grievous, you might want to play 3 copies of this to make sure you're opening it when needed. Then we've got 2 copies of a card. Now this is usually the ratio for cards that aren't great to draw early in the game, but you still want to go over multiple copies of them in the course of a game. Now, examples I have for this are like the boss cards, like the big costly cards, the big features like Luke Skywalker, Mace Windu, Darth Vader, things like that, and also high costing cards like example here, Rivals Fall. Because in this game there are instant defeat effects like Rivals Fall here, and the cheaper they are, the more restrictive they are, the higher costing they are, the less restrictive they are. And also in this game, you can defeat almost anything, but when it comes to defeating a leader, it's a little bit tricky because most cards might say defeat a non-leader unit. There's not many things that can instantly defeat a unit, but there are some, and Rival's Fault is probably one of the stronger ones because it's just an effect that allows you to defeat any unit, even a leader. And now it does cost 6, it's quite costly, but it's something you might want to have early in the game because if you have it, you have a resource link because you can't use it, or you're holding it to wait until you can use it, but then you're down a card in your hand, meaning you got less options than you would normally. So you might want to put it as 2 copies of cards so you don't see it early, but when it comes to later on when you want to use it to defeat your opponent's leader, you have it ready to use and you draw into it to then use it. And then that brings us to the last of the ratios being 1 copy of a card. Now, I use restock for this example because this is usually the ratio for cards that are added to a deck specifically in order to counter a specific situation. And like I said, the example being used here is restock because it's added to decks that help counter hard control decks. Now, in this game, you do have hard control decks, which literally, like the name suggests, we're just focusing on controlling the game. All the focus on controlling the game, and that's it. And like we said before, if you can't draw any cards at the end of, if you can't draw any cards during a regroup phase, then you take 3 damage for each one you can't draw. So if you can't draw one of them, you take 3 damage. If you can't draw both of them, you take 6 damage. And hard control decks will use this damage to win the game. So focus on hard controlling you, get to you decking out, and then you'll take damage from that and they'll win through that route. But by having restock in your deck, you can use it to choose up to 4 cards in your discard pile, put them on the bottom of your deck in a random order. And with how the game works, with timing, you can put restock as one of those cards back on the bottom of your deck as well. So that way you can go ahead and draw it back, keep using it to kind of prevent that deck out damage. And then that'll give hard control decks a different, hard focus to think about a different way they can win the game rather than using that damage since restock is preventing them. So hopefully that's helped you understand how with the ratios when you want 3, 2, or 1 copies of a card. Now we've got rid of through all that information now for the basic information. We're now going to see what the benefits are to adding a base and getting those aspect combos. So the first one I'm going to start off with is the double aspect. As back in set 1, this was a more restricted way to play, with only 1 leader in every aspect being able to play it properly, and even then it wasn't the best way to play it. But now with 3 sets in, we have triple the amount of cards, being triple amount of double aspect, single aspect, and things like that. And this now gives every leader the ability to go into double aspect in a decent capacity now as compared to set 1. And with the double cunning one, double cunning was probably the best one to go with in set 1, because just the first 3 you got, Bodhi Rook, Tina Bouncer, and Cunning, were such great cards, it made it so it's worth going, especially like for Boba, in double cunning. And even then, as the sets have got on, it's still kept prevalence being one of the better of the double aspect combos. But as it's got on, the cards kind of dropped in quality compared to the first one, like in power as well as quality. Because if you look at the cards, we've got the 9 here that you can use as set 3. You might be thinking DJ's not a double aspect card. But if you looked at his Smuggle, which is how you mainly want to play him, he's got double aspect in the Smuggle, so he technically is a double aspect, just in a different way. And with the cards, we've got the top left here, being the 3 in the top left. These are the ones of set 1, being Bodhi Rook, Cantina Bouncer, and Cunning. 2 of them being units, being Bodhi Rook and Cantina Bouncer, both with 1 player effects, and very nice was that, because Bodhi Rook is a pretty solid costed, free that, when played, looks your opponent hand discards any non-leader unit from any non-unit card from it. So any event or upgrade in your opponent's hand, you can rip out of hand. So which is nice, makes for a nice control, and this, especially when it came to ripping out those pesky resupplies your opponent might be having to ramp. You also got Cantina Bouncer, which is literally waylay it with a body, because it has the same effect of waylay, return any non-leader unit back to the hand, but it's got a body as well, so you can stay on board as well as doing a waylay, and while it might be a bit more costly, comes in with pretty decent stats as well. Then you got Cunning, which gave some really good effects, like all aspects had this, or have this technically, which is a 4-cost event that gives you 4 options. You can choose any 2 of them, so however you choose. And Cunning has the best one, because it's got so much utility, being like power boosting, resting, bouncing, and like discarding from hand as well. So really good options that made it one of the better ones of it. And then for set 2, we got some really nice ones. So we got some more ones. So we got like a New Adventure, Final Shadow, and DJ being the ones in the top right. And these are just pretty nice effects, like New Adventure being a nice way to kind of bounce back 6 or less back to the hand and then replay it out for free. So that you could either replay that Fet's Fire Spray in Boba, which come in active when it's played to kind of get more swings out of it and more use out of it cheap, or make use of those cards that had a when-played effect. So once their effects, once you played them and their effects have gone and they're basically used up, you can replay them again to basically trigger those when-played effects, which is really nice. You've got Final Showdown being a really nice one to kind of like help you win the game, but a downside to it is if you don't win the game that turn, you lose the game. So a nice way to kind of catch your opponent off guard if you're not expecting it, but a downside if you don't manage to win, then you've just basically made yourself lose. So be aware of that. And also you got DJ as well, which is more of a card that's best used in hand than any other aspect because of its effect. Because what it wants to do is if you smuggle it out, which is a bit costly, it's 7 with double resources, but with tech you can make it a lot cheaper at 5 and not require double yellow. And then when you play him, using smuggle, you can take control of one of your opponent's resources, but as soon as he leaves the field, you have to get that unit resource back. But a nice thing about set one hand is that if you use this effect temporarily ramp, you then at the end of the turn have to defeat one of your resources, or one of the resources you have. So a nice thing with hand with DJ is to use hand's effect, temporary ramp, then bring out DJ by smuggling to then take your opponent's resources, and then at the end of the turn, when you have to defeat one of your resources, you defeat the one you took from your opponent, so if DJ is removed after that, it doesn't give anything back because that resource is now gone. And that would mean that basically you've temporary ramp, which is now come into a permanent ramp, where your opponent is now down a resource. A very nice combo with that. And then from set 3, got the ones at the bottom here, which are the new ones we've got. So Jar Jar Binks, Chance of Palpatine, and Impropriety are among thieves. So these are pretty nice, pretty interesting ones. Not as strong compared to especially since set 1. But you got Jar Jar Binks being a nice turn 1 unit, but its effects completely random. Because where it doesn't say opponent, it can hit you as well. And essentially, when he attacks, he deals 2 damage to a random unit or base. So when he swings, he can do damage to your opponent's base, your base, himself, one of your units, one of your opponent's units. It's random. You basically just got roll dice, assign everything a number, roll dice, and then see what it lands on. So could be great if you love a chance. Jar Jar Binks is a great unit. If you don't like chance, then avoid it. Then you've got Chance of Palpatine, which is a pretty nice one. Solid stats for its cost at 4 cost 2/6. And when you any token you do create comes in play ready, which is nice. And whenever he attacks, if a unit lets play, which yellow can do quite easily, you get to play a Clone Trooper token, which then will of course come inactive. It's a pretty solid unit, probably one of the better ones to come out of this set for double Cunning. And it's pretty nice because there are so many ways to kind of bounce things. Like you got Whale Lake, Teddy Bounces to kind of bounce things out the way to kind of get things out of play. Because it doesn't have to just be defeated; it have to be leave play. So you bounce or defeated to then triggers effects and make use of those like generating tokens. And then you've got Propriety Among Thieves. Now this is a very wordy one, very wordy 4-cost event, but I'll simplify it for you. Essentially, you choose one of your you choose an active unit that both you and your opponent control. You switch control of them. End of turn, you give them back. Simple as. You essentially switch control of 2 units that have to be active mode, like ready, and then you switch them back at the end of the turn. Now, the only nice thing about this is if you take your opponent's unit and then you defeat it using something, and then your opponent doesn't defeat the one you've given them, you get yours back, they don't give this back. So there's be a way to kind of take your opponent's unit, make use of it, get rid of it, and then basically stop them from getting it back. Now, it's not the most amazing, but as an option you do have. So there's double cunning, a double aspect, and double cunning is a really good one. You can potentially do quite well with this as Grievous, because in what you've got here. But you've got to think about, since Grievous is more of a focus on droids and that kind of focus, do you have enough droids in double cunning to make use of his effect, or are you just using him to be a good leader that has some good stats? Next, before we go on to what the base provides you with different aspects, we're going to go on what Grievous provides you, because remember, with Grievous, you get access to both Cunning and Villainy Cunning. So we're going to kind of go over what he kind of gives you in those aspects before going on to see what a different aspect base can provide you. Remember, if you do want to go double aspect, you've got these rare bases for Cunning, which Genesect is not great. I wouldn't recommend it at the moment anyway. And then Petronac Arena is a nice one that can boost the power of Grievous, but once again, there's no, unless you put it with like blue or green to heal, which you won't have from this, you're gonna put yourself at a lower health base to not get much benefit out of it. So you're losing 4 health and not ready to regenerate back. So it's up to you if you want to use that. Now for units, you've got some pretty nice ones. Like you've got some pretty cool Separatists and also just great units in general. You got Soulless 1, 7 Fleet Defender, Forlom, Infiltrating Demolisher, and Tactical Droid Commander. Now some of these are droids. Some of these are space units, which aren't droids but still separatists or Imperials, and they're pretty nice. Like Soulless 1 is a pretty nice one that makes use of droids by allowing you to on attack exhaust a friendly droid leader or General Grievous, and that can be either in the leader area or in the ground or when it's deployed. And if you do give an extra 2 power for that attack, making him a free 2 for a 1 cost, which is pretty nice. You got 7 Fleet Defender, which is a free 2 and that costs 3. But it comes in shielded, so he's got better protection for one damage once until it's gone. You also have some droids then. You have Forlom, which is technically a droid, because it's got the droid trait, along with Underworld and Bounty Hunter, which is a 4-cost 4/4 that can ambush. And if you play Zuckuss with it, you can get some nice benefits there. And you've got Infiltrating Demolisher being a nice one, being a 4-cost 4/5. That has Exploit 1, so you can defeat 1 extra. You can defeat a unit you control to make him cheaper by 2, making him a 2-cost if you want to. And he has Saboteur, and you can ignore Sentinels and defeat shields on any unit he attacks into. And then you've got Tactical Droid Commander, another one that has Exploit, but it's a 5-cost 4/4, but you can reduce him down to 1 potentially if you defeat 2 units you control. And then whenever you play another separatist unit while he's on board, you can exhaust a unit that costs the same as or less than the played unit. So a pretty nice little benefit from there. And then you got some pretty good events as well. Like you got No Good to Be Dead, being a nice one to lock down a card for 2 turns. Because how the game works, you restand everything at the end of a turn. So where this stops you for that whole turn from readying that card, then it's tapped down for that turn. The next turn it's still tapped down because you ready at the end of the turn. You got Triple Dark Raid as a way to look at the top 7 cards of your deck, find any vehicle among them, play it for cost of 5 less, and then return it back to the hand at the end of the turn. So you've got downside battle back to your hand, but you can play it out ready, because I forgot to say it does come in ready, and you can basically play something that's not from your hand, but from the top of your deck as well. You get some nice benefits of like 7th Vendor, use it then ram into another unit that's shielded, it survive, go back to your hands, you can play it out again, or some other big spaceships as well. And when it comes to ready, that might be the way that you have to get out a big unit that basically be inactive to send swing and finish off that last bit of damage you need on your opponent's base. Then you got On the Doorstep. So this is a nice one to kind of get you loads of those droid tokens, either have more units there for Sentinel, or to have more units then to exploit to play things out. So you're On the Doorstep, the 4-cost event that allows you to play out 3 battle droid tokens. They come in ready, so you can attack straight away with them, and they're all droids to make give Sentinel to one of them, or even just exploit them off to make things cheaper. And then on the non-dark side of Cunning, you got some pretty nice stuff as well. You've got Greedo and B1 Security Team as a turn 1 play. Greedo being a nice one that we've seen countlessly, a very fragile one with lots of power and a nice one defeated effect. You got B1 Security Team, which is an droid that already has Sentinel, so you don't need to get the benefit of Grievous by giving it Sentinel. You got same stats as Greedo as well, being very fragile at 1 health, but 3 power, being very powerful. And then you got Tri-Droid Suppressor, another droid unit you can play out. Also a vehicle, a separatist, and walker. Another one you can exploit out, so you can defeat some unit or some like cheap units to kind of bring it out cheaper. And when it's played, it exhausts enemy ground units. It taps something down and comes in with some solid stats as well. It's a pretty nice one. And even then, giving a sentinel to this makes it for a big, bulky sentinel to help you defend your ground arena. You also have some nice upgrades, things like Jetpack, which is a nice upgrade. 2 cost to give a 2 power boost to a unit. You can also smuggle it in, so it's a nice card you can always resource and play out later. And when played, it gives a shield token to it, but it's temporary because it gets defeated. It gets removed at the end of the turn. But that's nice because you can either put on a unit to protect it and make sure it can then swing. It's like protected to be able to swing in the next action to your opponent's base at higher power. Or put on a unit so that way you can clash with your opponent's units, and then yours will survive because it's a shield, while your opponent take all the damage and maybe be defeated. Then you got some nice events because Cunning has a lot of good events. You got nice ones like Political Pressure, Swoop Down, Surprise Strike, and now there are 2 of them being some very nice examples. So the Political Pressure is a nice one because it does the same thing as we saw the 2-cost event that allows you to pay 2 droids, but it does it for cheaper, and you might not play droids, but you might get a better benefit out of that. Because what it allows you to do is choose an opponent, and now they can discard a card randomly from the hand, so they don't get to choose what they discard, it's just random, so they get to pick, so they can hit something they don't care about or something they do care about. But if they don't want to discard a card, they can instead give you 2 droid tokens. You go either discard a card randomly, or give you 2 droid tokens, up to them. And then you got Swoop Down, be a nice way to use any space units if you want, and this one kind of breaks the game in that it breaks the rules of the game, where usually, when you're playing the game, only ground can attack ground, and only space can attack space. But Swoop Down allows you to like break those rules and kind of counter through, because now with this card you can then allow you to it allows you to attack with a space unit. It also gains Saboteur, and now it can attack the ground arena, so it can attack across arenas, which is something like only one other card can really do. And the other benefit of this, if the space unit does attack a ground unit, it gains extra 2 power, and the ground unit you're attacking into gets 2 less power. So you can weaken something while strengthening yours to kind of take out something across arenas, which is really cool. You also got Surprise Strike, being a nice event that allows you to attack with a unit and give it 3 more power for that attack, so attack something with a bit more oomph. That can maybe even finish off an opponent's base. And then now that 2 of them is a nice way to bring out bigger units for cheaper if you control only 1. So those are some nice benefits for Grievous. Now we're going to see what kind of benefit you get when you add a different base to the mix. So if you add a Vigilance base to the mix, you get some pretty nice stuff. And Vigilance in the dark side and light side are better than this normal side. And you get some really good stuff from the dark side of Vigilance for control. You get some nice turn 1 plays, like Inferno 4 Wartime Trade Official. Be nice ones that can come as early as turn 1 and get some enough benefits. Where like Inferno 4 starts looking at your top card of your deck when played or defeated. They kind of amend them to either keep them on top or move them so you can modify what you're going to get in your next 2 draws. And your Wartime Official is a nice one which keeps a unit on board, where when it's defeated, you create a battle droid token. So it keeps you with something on board to exploit, or if you exploit this, you then get a battle droid token, so you've lost literally nothing while making something cheaper. You got some good cards for the turns after, like General Grievous himself as a pretty strong unit. Not much use his effect, because his effect requires a lot of lightsabers, and a lot of them at 4, and they're not very cheap, the lightsabers. But it's just good because his stats for its cost are really nice. In a free cost with 4 power, 4 health, is very strong. And he's not a droid because I don't think he is a droid. But you can correct me on that if you want. I'm not sure. But and then you got Morgan Elsbeth as well. It's a nice way to kind of defeat, like basically just sack off any of those cheap units you've got to kind of draw more cards, because every time she attacks, defeat a unit, friendly unit, and then draw a card. She also has Restore, so she's healing 1 from your base, and she's got pretty good stats for her cost. And you come to the bigger units as well. So then you got things like Supreme Leader Snoke coming down at a very high costing 8. 6/6 stats, which is pretty good, and makes all your opponents' units that's not the leader minus 2 power and 2 health, which is very strong. And you got Malevolence being a nice 9 cost event that can be, space unit that can be whittled down using exploit all the way down to 1 cost if you can exploit 4 units, and brings you some Restore, which is not that prevalent in Darkseid, so these unique ones there. And also, when played, allows you to give an enemy unit minus 4 power for the turn and make it so it can't attack. So you can weaken something and make it so it can't attack. So it's not affecting anything to your base, and also weaken so you can attack into it and take less damage back when taken out. You also have some powerful events as well, like Power of the Darkseid and Super Laser Blast, allow you to remove things from the board. By Power of the Darkseid, forcing your opponent to choose any one of the units to defeat him, which is more beneficial when they got less units, because they got less options and they're more devastating. Whereas with more options on board for them, they can choose the weakest one they don't care about and not take much of a blow from this card. Whereas Super Laser Blast just wipes out everything on the board, even your stuff as well. And for rare bases, you got Security Complex Pal City. So Pal City can make General Grievous a little bit more bulky at 9 health. And Security Complex can then put a shield on something once a game to protect it a little bit. Now these are pretty nice ones, and the nice benefit of blue is that even though they got less health for rare bases, you got a lot of restore and healing to kind of mitigate their downside of having lower health. And on the non-dark side of it, you got some pretty cool stuff. Like you got security, B1, 2-1B security droid, surgical droid, sorry, and Trade Federation shuttle, and then multi-troop transport. These are some pretty nice units you can get in Vigilance, and normally in just a non-light or dark side of Vigilance, there aren't too many great units, but these are quite nice ones. With the droid being a nice 1 cost 1 free droid unit, so it could be something you can give Sentinel, and whenever it attacks, it can heal 2 damage from another unit, so you can keep healing something else up, or making it a separate, or make something else a Sentinel, and then keep healing it up by swinging with this. Pretty cool there. You got also Trade Federation Shuttle, being a nice 3 cost 2 free unit that when you play it, if you got a damaged unit, so you got say you made something a Sentinel, it survived, but it's damaged, you can play this out and create a battle droid token when this is played, which is cool. And you got multi-troop transport, which is another card you can exploit some weaker units off, and can keep giving you plenty of Sentinel fodder by essentially whenever it attacks, create a battle droid token, which is then once again a droid, which then Grievous can go ahead and go, that's now a Sentinel. You also, if you want to go for a droid unit, like a token unit spam deck, you can use Roger, which is a cheap 1 cost upgrade. It gives a 1/1 boost to a unit, and when that unit is defeated, you can attach this upgrade to a friendly battle droid token. So you can put on a token, ram into your opponents, it gets defeated. Now it's like a 2/2 rather than 1/1. Now you can re-put this upgrade for free on another battle droid token to keep putting on and basically keep spamming the battle droids. It's something you can play potentially for fun if you can go for a huge amount of token spam. And you can even put multiple of them out and then basically just keep adding to different battle droids. And the only downside is this: if you have to do a mass removal, that could be a pretty big downside. Then you also got some nice events, like you've got some healing ones like Covert Strength and Grievous Reassembly. Reassembly. These are nice healing ones that technically heal 3 damage. And I say technically because one doesn't heal 3, but then it essentially gives you back 3 health. So you got Covert Strength, so you can smuggle, so you can always resource this and use it later on. And it allows you to heal 2 damage from a unit, but then give you experience token. And this technically heals 3 because it heals 2 damage off you, so that's 2 extra health. Then it gives you experience, which will give you 1 extra health and 1 extra power, so you're technically getting 3 health back. And you got Grievous Reassembly, which heals you 3 damage from a unit, but then you also get to create a battle droid token, so you're not only just healing, you get creating another droid, so you're potentially healing off General Grievous, getting a battle droid token so you can get that Sentinel. And you got some removal events like take down a fellow dragon. Now you take out units instantly, but once again, more restrictions on the cost, like take down needing 5 or less health from the unit, whereas fellow dragon kits anything that's not a non-leader that's got 5 or more power. So if you want to be doing more control and have more fun things with Grievous, you can go for Vigilance. Next we have Command, and Command has some really nice stuff in the dark side. Like both Vigilance and Command have really nice stuff in the dark side, gives more control, and there's a few more droids in the Command side. You also got some nice events as well, and some nice units you can play out. So you've got Poggle Lesser and General Tag as more cheap units, not necessarily units you can play turn 1, maybe Poggle you can, but not really with Tag. But they're pretty nice units, because General Poggle Lesser helps you build up more of these droid tokens, where it's a card you can play as soon as turn 1, because it's a 2 cost, 1 4 2 stats, and whenever you play another unit, you can rest him to create a battle droid token. So essentially, put this on turn 1, then for turn 2 onwards, if you play a unit out, you can rest Poggle or create a battle droid token, and give you something to keep giving Sentinel to protect Poggle as he keeps bringing you more tokens. And then you got General Tag, which remember, with the droid tokens, they are Separatist, Droid, and Trooper. So the benefit of being a Separatist, benefit of being a Droid for Grievous, and then benefit of being Trooper for General Tag. Because Tag is a 2-cost 2/2 unit that, when played, gives an experience token to up to 3 Trooper units. So if you've got 3 of those battle droid tokens, you can give him all experience to make him from a 1/1 to a 2/2. Give him a little bit more power, but then getting the most benefit of having these little droid tokens. You then got Droid Commando as well, and Magna Guard Wing Leader, which is units you can play from turn 2 once, which you can either play in the ground or space, depending on which one you're using. And you got benefits using those droids or droid separatists. Because Droid Commandos are 3-cost 4/3, that if you control another separatist unit, say like Poggle or even any droids, you can then attack with it straight away because it gains ambush. And then you got Magna Wing Leader, which is a 3-cost 3/4 unit, so like different stats. Stats kind of twitch around. It's got more health than power, but it's got an action where you can attack with a droid unit, and then attack with another droid unit straight after, and you can only use abilities once around. And this is similar to those effects like Rebel Assault, where you can attack with 2 units in one action to kind of get a bit better boost on getting more power swings or more hits in few actions to kind of make use of your turn. Then you got some bigger units like Kraken and Darth Vader, which are pretty nice ones. The Kraken is a 5-cost 3/5, which when played gets 2 battle droid tokens, is a droid himself for Grievous, and whenever he attacks, each friendly token unit gains extra 1/1 to the stats, making them 2/2s instead of 1/1s, which is pretty cool. So if you can spam out tokens, Kraken can get the best use of them. And you want Vader being one of the best units you can play, because it's literally just a 7-cost 5/7 ambush that attacks straight away, and it helps you spam out more units by looking at the top 10 cards of your deck and playing a number of dark units with a cost of 3 or less among them each, and play them for free. So you can get a 3-cost, a 2 and a 1, or 3 1s out from Vader, which is cool. And you've got some very nice events as well. Like you've got Overwhelming Barrage being a nice one of the best events in the game, allowing you to boost up a unit by 2/2, and then have put its power as damage however you choose on the board. And then Palpatine allowing you to revive a unit from the discard by paying 6 cost, reviving something, but it costs 6 or less. Well, it costs 6 less than its normal cost, so if it's 6 or less, you can play for free. If it's more, you have to pay an extra additional cost, but if it's a Force unit, you play it for 8 less instead. And your rare bases are Energy Version Lab and Droid Manufactory, could be handy. Droid Manufactory lets you pay out 2 battle droid tokens when you play Grievous, so he gets 2 tokens ready when he's deployed. And Energy Version Lab helps you to ambush a unit in as soon as you play it. Well, help you ambush a unit that's 6 or less whenever you want, which is cool. You just have to pay the cost for the unit, but still it's a pretty nice card. And these are pretty nice. You do have some healing in command to kind of mitigate the lower health, but you haven't got as much as Vigilance, but you still have some. And then in the non-villainy side of command, you got some pretty nice cards. You've got Vanguard Infantry being a nice trooper that can help boost things up, because when it's defeated, it gives an experience token to another unit. So as long as you've got another unit when it's defeated, you can boost them up. You got different Vanguard being a nice 1-cost 1/1 unit. It's also a droid and a trooper against raid 1, so when it attacks, it's hitting for 1 more. And when it is defeated, you can choose a trooper unit, which is any droid token or some units, and you can give him extra 2/2 power or extra 2/2 boost for that phase. You also got Cobb Vamp as a way to keep units on board by whenever it's defeated. Look at the top 10 cards of your deck, mill any 2 cost or less unit from among them to discard, and then during that turn, you can play it out from your discard for free. You've also got Subjugating Starfighter as well, being a 4 cost 3/3 that has Ambush, can attack straight away. And when it's played, if you have the initiative, you create a Battle Droid token, so more that follow there. And you've got some exploit units in Bactoid, Spider Droid, and Gore, being General Grievous' pet. So Bactoid Spider Droid is a 8 cost 5/6, but can exploit 2 units to make it cheaper, so half its cost if you defeat 2 other units. And has Ambush as well, which is pretty nice. And you got Gore being a 12 cost, so hefty, but you can exploit 3 units, so half the cost of it, so being a 6. If you've got 3 units on board, you can just basically kill. And it is a Sentinel as well, so it protects your ground arena. Has Ambush and Overwhelms, it does piercing damage through whatever it attacks into, and it's a 7/7 unit, so being pretty nice there. You also have some good events as well, like Resupply being a nice one where you can just ramp yourself to kind of deploy Grievous a little bit quicker. And Timely Invention allowing you to play a unit at one more than its normal cost, but give it Ambush as well, which is pretty nice there. And you can also smuggle that one in, makes it for a nice resource. So if you're interested in playing Command and want more control and like ramping up resources to build big things or more things quickly and spam the board, then Command could be a good one for you. Then that brings us to the last one, Aggression. Like I said, this is the one that just allows you to throw out damage willy-nilly. And your rare bases for this one are both 25 health bases in Tarkin Town and Shadow Collector Camp. So Tarkin Town's nice and allows you to finish off something you were just short of taking out with damage, which is cool. And then Shadow Collector Camp allows you to draw a card when you deploy with Grievous. So if you feel those are useful, use them. Otherwise, you just go for 30 health base. And you've got some pretty nice units. You got more space units, but you've got quite a few ones. Like you've got nice ones like your space units being the top row, being Kylo's TIE Silencer, Confederate Tri-Fighter, Imperial Interceptor, and Rufus Raider. These being pretty nice space events with nice effects, like Kylo's TIE Silencer is like anti-hand control, where if it's discarded from your hand or from the top of your deck, you can play it from your discard pile as long as you pay the cost. Or it's a good turn 1 play, you can play out with solid power and not too much health, but then solid power. You got Confederate Tri-Fighter, which is a 3 cost 3/3 space unit, which is a droid as well to give Sentinel to, and also while it's on board, neither player can heal their bases. So a nice way to prevent opponents from healing their bases. You can be aggressive as possible and not worry about them healing the damage off. You got Imperial Interceptor as well, being a nice one. It's not technically a droid or a separatist, but can help you control the space race. By when it's played, you can deal 3 damage to a space unit, and while it's got the same stats as TIE Fighter, it has double the cost, but then a nice effect to go with it. And then you got the top end being Rufus Raider, being a nice 6 cost space unit. 4/6 with stats, but when it's played or defeated, you can deal 2 damage to your opponent's base and 2 damage to an enemy unit. So you can kind of finish off, damage something, take it out, and then also do some more damage to your opponent's base as well to kind of like push the damage towards winning. You've got some nice ground units as well, like you've got some droids like 00M series officer and B1 attack platform being some pretty nice droids. The first one being a 2 cost, 2/1, but when defeated, deals 2 damage to a base. So you can have this as a nice one to give Sentinel to, and then you got B1 attack platform being a 3 cost 5/2, so a lot of power but very, very fragile. That can hit hard but has no effect, but it's quite fragile too. And you've got some separatists you can use to exploit out, like maybe exploit some droids off to bring out, like a Zaj Ventress and Count Dooku. Like Zaj being a 4 cost 2/4 that you can potentially paint for absolutely free if you exploit 2 units. And whenever she attacks, if you've attacked already with a separatist unit, she gets an extra 3 plus power to her attack for the phase. And then Count Dooku is a nice one where if you exploit him, you get the benefit of his when played, but also has piercing as a 6/6 for 8. And if you do exploit, for each unit you exploited while playing this card, you can deal damage to an enemy unit equal to the power of the exploited card or exploited unit. So a nice way to kind of throw out some damage. If you exploit some things with a lot of power, you get some more damage spread out. Then you have the non-dark side of aggression. You got some nice you got some nice droids and vehicles as well, like all these ones examples of droids in Relentless Rocket Droid, IG-11, and Heavy Persuader Tank. Now the first one is one that gets more benefits the more troops you have, which once again are those droid tokens. Because it's a 4 cost 3/5, but if you control another trooper unit, it gains extra 2 power, making it a 4 cost 5/5. Pretty nice there. You got IG-11, which is a bounty hunter at a 5 cost 6/5, but it's also a droid, so it gets the benefit of Grievous. And then the nice thing about it is it can't be captured, and if it is, you defeat him instead and deal 3 damage to each enemy ground unit your opponent controls instead. But then when he attacks, if you keep him on board, he deals 3 damage to a damaged ground unit. So if you've got something damaged, you can now do extra 3 damage to it to like maybe finish it off or just add the damage on. And then you've got Heavy Persuader Tank being a nice one. This one you can exploit as well, because you've got Exploit 2, and you can exploit 2 other units and reduce it down to potentially a 3 cost. And it's a 6/5, and when played, it deals 2 damage to an enemy ground unit. So, well, to a ground unit, but it's more than going to do it to an enemy one. And then you've got a good upgrade in like Hotshot Blaster, and this is a nice one that's better used. It could be used in whatever aspect you play with Grievous, because it has a better benefit of being smuggled. And if you do smuggle it, the aspect you need is Cunning, which Grievous have. So what I've got here with Aggression, you can play it in any aspect combo, no matter what, thanks to Grievous being a Cunning unit. Because usually, to use its normal effect without smuggling, you have to use 2 actions to do it. So 1 action to equip it, and then 1 action to attack, which is 2 actions, which could be too late. But if you smuggle it in, it does cost 2 more, so it costs a 3 unit resource rather than 1. But you get to do 2 actions in 1, because you get to equip it, and then because you smuggle it in, you get as 1 played using smuggle to attack with the attached unit, to attack at the same time you equip it. Pretty nice there. And you got some pretty nice events as well. Like you got Precision Fire, making use of those droids having Trooper. You got Open Fire to do damage, Pillage to do hand control, and Caught in the Crossfire to force 2 opponent units to basically attack each other. Because Precision Fire allows you to attack with a unit, give it Saboteur so it can annoy Sentinel and Shields, and if it's a Trooper, which all your droid tokens are, it gets an extra 2 power for that attack. Then Open Fire literally just does 4 damage to a unit for the cost of 3. Pillage allows you to choose an opponent and make him discard 2 cards from the hand. And then Caught in the Crossfire allows you to choose 2 units at a higher cost of 6, but then they got to be in the same arena. And then each of those units deal damage to each other, so you're normally going to choose 2 units that can take each other out and make them take each other out essentially. So you got some pretty nice stuff in Aggression, pretty cool droids as well. But then you've got to think about, is it going to be more beneficial to you? But you've got some nice droids that make use of General's effect, and you've got a lot of ways to just basically throw out damage as well, which is pretty cool. So if you feel like Aggression would be a good one to use, go ahead and throw an Aggression base on top. Next, we've got the Villainy cards, and there's a lot more benefits of the Villainy cards than Ahsoka had for her Heroic cards, because each set they has a more focus on the aspects, on each side of the aspects. So for this first set, the dark side was focused more on Imperial, which Grievous is not, so there's not many good ones. You could sure you throw in the Viper droid as you want, because it is a droid, I think, and have that as a turn 1 unit can give you hand knowledge if you want, which is pretty one. I could have put that in here, but I've got these ones here instead. And then your set 2 is all about bounty hunters and bounty hunters and Underworld, which there weren't many benefits for what Grievous wants to do in droids and stuff like that. But in set 3, it's focused on the Separatists, and a lot of those Separatists are droids. So you got some pretty nice units that are droids here, like you got Dwarf Spider Droid, Hellfire Tank, and Battle Droid Legion, which have some benefits like exploit for the higher costing ones in Hellfire Tank and Battle Droid Legion, and then the Dwarf Spider Droid gains Grit, which is pretty nice because it means that the more damage it takes, the stronger it gets, especially when you put Sentinel on it. So your opponent has to go through it to go for the ground arena to take more damage if they have to do more attacks than just 1 to take it out. Then you got Hellfire Tank and Battle Droid Legion, which can allow you to exploit your own units, bring out cheaper. So they both got Exploit 2, so you can be reduced down to 4. So Hellfire Tank could potentially come out as a 4 cost, while Battle Droid Legion come out as a 5 cost. And they got some nice stats or effects, like Hellfire Tank being a 6/7 is pretty 7/6 is pretty good for a 8 cost, or 4 cost potentially. And Battle Droid Legion as a 5 cost, having 5/6, so that's pretty decent. And when it's defeated, it gives you 3 Battle Droid tokens, so you can either attack with them or exploit them off to bring out more things, which is cool. You got some nice events as well, like Droid Deployment. Now you're on turn 1 to get, or on turn, in any one turn or on turn 1 to give you 2 Battle Droid tokens to exploit and make use of, or even just like spam with Roger Roger. And then you got Merciless Contest, allowing you to force both you and your opponent to defeat one of your non-leader units. And you can basically exploit one of your little droids if you want to, or your opponent might be forced to defeat one of the units they care about, which is cool. And since he's in starter deck, he also has some starter exclusives, and just like Ahsoka, he has 4. And these are more droids that you can focus with his effect. Now you got General's Guardian being a 4 cost 4/4 that whenever it's attacked into creates a Battle Droid token. And since he's a droid, you can give him Sentinel to force your opponent to have to attack into it to then start giving you those tokens, which is cool. You then got Separatist Commander, which you can always play thanks to Grievous being the same aspects. And there's a 2 cost 2/3, but where you control another Separatist unit, He gains raid 2, so then he swings a little bit harder at a 4 instead of just 2. Also, you got Battle Droid Escort, which is a free cost 1/1, so not the best stats, but when it's played or defeated, you create a Battle Droid token, which could be very, very useful. And then you got Grievous' own little upgrade himself, being his Grievous' Will Bite. So this is a 4 cost upgrade, but if you're playing this upgrade on General Grievous himself, it costs 2 less. And also you can attach it to a non-vehicle unit, so you're only going to put it on Grievous himself. It gives him Overwhelm, so it does piercing damage when he attacks a unit, and it gives him a free boost with stats, making him from a 4/8 to a 7/11, which is very, very strong stats, especially when you play this for 2 resources as soon as he's deployed as well. So pretty nice side excuse to put with him if you want to try out Grievous. And then lastly, that brings us to my preferred aspects parts in the end of the video. And this is something I've added because I did get questions when doing this series for the previous sets, what my preferred aspects will be, and I thought since it's asked quite a few times, I'll put it in as a general segment for the series at the end of each video. Because I do have some preferred aspects for each leader, so if you want to know and want to kind of give it as a way to kind of help you decide, I'll gladly add it. Now, for my preferred aspects for Grievous, I more preferred to go into blue as my most preferred one, because you get access to things like Morgan Elsbeth to kind of make use of killing off all these little battle droids, to then give you more cards, more options, and also have some healing. You got their multi-troop transport as a way to kind of keep spamming out the units. You've always got a droid unit to then go ahead and give Sentinel to. And you also got Roger, so if you go for token spam like I want to, then you can go ahead and give them, like, have Roger on the board and keep spamming it around from different ones, like kamikazing them into your opponent's units, and then giving it to other units to make him stronger as well. And if I didn't run that, I would probably run it in command as well to have that ramp and have some nice things like General's Guardian, and then to spam out ground tokens as well by just giving it Sentinel, and then whenever it's attacked, giving you a token. Poggle less to grab a token, and then using General Tag to kind of give, once you get more of those tokens, start playing on General Tag so you can then boost up those tokens, turn from 1/1 to 2/2s, to kind of have that little weenie spam that go wide, which is pretty cool. So those are my preferred ones. Probably not the best way to play, but those are my preferred ones that have quite some fun with General Grievous, because that's the end of the video. And hopefully with that, I have helped you understand how to build General Grievous, different ways you can play, the benefits of each of them, and also help you with that, if you're a brand new player, some basic knowledge to help you understand how to play the game to try it out as well. Because this is such a fun game, and hopefully if you are new, you give it a try and have fun with it. Now that's it for today. Thank you for watching. That's gone over. Now it's the last one of this series, all set 3. So that's all set 3 leaders we've done. So if you've missed any, go ahead and have a look. They're all noted for ease of reference with like the thumbnails and also the names. And when set 4 comes out, we'll cover another load of leaders in that one. But I will be having some updated ones from set 2 and 3 of those leaders to kind of give a, like, since they've got more cards in each set, give an updated version of some of the older leaders. So look out for that. And also check out some other videos as well. So thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.
Like a mouse.